putting this thing together, it's great to have it step by step because you can just run through and do it. But I think the other benefit to this, like probably even more important, because a lot of people can figure this out on their own. They don't necessarily need me. It just makes it quicker and faster, and they don't have to do a few hours of research and figure out which parts work together. But using the sauna for the first time, all these little questions like what to expect, am I doing it right? Is this how it's supposed to feel? Am I sweating enough? I'm not sweating fast enough. How do I change this? Should there be more heat? Should I use 150 watt bulbs or 250 watt bulbs? And 3, 2, 1. Both should be synced up. What's going on, guys? Want to have a little chat with you really quick. The DIY Sauna course, the deadline for the DIY Sauna course is actually today. October 25th, 2020. Inside my accountability mastermind, today was the deadline to have this done for you guys. I didn't say that publicly. Nobody knows about it except me. But behind closed doors, I've been working the last week with pretty much no breaks, filming content. I've had my cousin over here to run the camera gear. I've had help with tasks, like just going full bore. And it's been great. I did not meet the deadline. DIY Sauna course is not done today. What I would like to do today, though, because I realized that there's a lot of stuff in here that I don't think needs to be in here. So what I want to do is just take like 5 minutes and go over this really quick. I'm going to put the back end up on the screen. You won't be able to see each video, but you'll be able to see each title. A lot of this stuff I'm going to remove because it's just not pertinent to people. This is like old notes and old things that people had questions on, but really the curriculum of the course should be focused on how do we get you guys the result that you want? How do we show you how to build a better product for a couple $100s? And then not only how to build it, where to get the parts and do all the steps and stuff to put the frame together and mount the lights, but how do you actually use it and improve performance? Because that's one of the things that's lacking. You can go and buy a portable zip-up sauna for $200 from Amazon, but it doesn't really, I mean, other than them telling you to get in it and zip yourself up and sweat for 45 minutes, there's really not like a lot of instruction. So I think there's a lot of improvement to make that better. Let me run through what we have here really quick. And what I would like you guys to do, this is going to be a living course. It's going to cost like $5, maybe $10 or something. The first thing that somebody said to me is, you know, how come you're not going to put this for free on YouTube and yada yada. And we went through all this thing back and forth, and then once they realized that it was just like a couple of bucks, they're like, oh, okay. Well, how much is it for you to do this? And I was like, well, that's about $200 a month to host the courses and the platforms and all that stuff. But anyway, so we're going to have DIY Sauna course intro and overview. I'm going to go through how this even came about. It's kind of just the story. I may leave this part in there because some people like this. I came up with this concept. It's behind me right now. I came up with this concept while I was staying in an Airbnb during COVID because I wanted to kind of experiment with a sauna. I wasn't going to have one delivered there. It was a short-term rental. I was using it as an office. I was filming and stuff, so it was really quiet. And it worked out great, but any kind of a temporary place, you can't have permanent stuff. And so every single day I was like, man, I could really be using a sauna and stuff here. How would I do that if I were going to do that? And that's how some of these ideas came about, because in my own life, it got really real for me, just like it used to be when I was in a 500 square foot treehouse that I talk about all the time. No one really knows what that was like because I never show any of the videos from where I started out, but it was very, very small. And this was kind of a similar situation. I was like, wow, this is what it's like, you know, when I needed a sauna, I didn't have room for it. And this is also what it's like now for people who are in an apartment, don't have a lot of money, not in their forever home or whatever, looking for like DIY sauna plans. But there's this whole opportunity to give them a lot more than just sauna plans. And I realized that and figured this out while I was in the Airbnb, because there's different ways that you can use it, all these questions. So just a quick overview is the first section. I built this while staying in an Airbnb during COVID. And I just kind of want to illustrate that if I can do it from there, anybody can build this thing with no tools anywhere. I go over why a DIY sauna because people are very conscious of me talking about the near infrared saunas and how much I hate them. And so I go into specifics about why I chose to use these bulbs. And the long and the short of it is you can't use far infrared panels and you can't just plug them into a wall without a controller. And so sourcing that, putting a kit together or something for somebody else to use, like a flat far infrared carbon emitter, has to have some type of electronic system. And for most people, it's going to drive the cost up. It's also going to make it more complicated if you're building it yourself. So we just went back to the bulbs and picked out, the best parts of what would make something easy, and then focused on, okay, this isn't the ideal thing that we like, but how do we make this effective for people since it's cheap and readily available? Anybody can get this stuff anywhere. So there's a couple sections on that. They're broken up. I kind of just touched on a few of them. I hate near-infrared saunas, so why make this? Because that's people's question, right? And so I specifically address it in the course, even though to me that has nothing to do with what this can actually do for you or how to build the thing. But I think people like context. And part of the reason to make this video is to ask you guys, is that true? Should I take that stuff out? What would you like to see? And then to show you that this is a living course. There's going to be an Ask Me Anything at the very end of the section. So if there's something in here that has to do with portable saunas, detoxing, making a DIY sauna, there's going to be a little section where you can ask me whatever question you want. And it's not like YouTube where we can't change the videos. I'll be able to go in, record a new video, even if that means taking the DIY sauna apart that's behind me, putting the camera in there, and then filming whatever little section that you need so that I can be as useful and make this as most helpful as we possibly can. And then every question that you guys ask, the more effort that you put into this, you're also helping other people because you're not the only one with that question. There's a ton of people that are kind of stuck in this whole world of, they have health problems, they don't have a lot of money, it's during COVID, all these times of stress and uncertainty. Everyone can kind of use the benefits of, infrared therapy, heat therapy, sauna therapy, whatever you want to call it. Hormesis, now that term is being coined, it's kind of becoming a little buzz thing, right? But basically, what I want to do is no matter what position you're in life, whether you're in, a mansion and you have tons of money and you can put in a big sauna and hire an electrician to wire it up, or the other end of the spectrum like I was a couple of years ago, you're in a super small place, don't have a lot of money, having health troubles, can't think clearly, don't have room, aren't going to stay there, right? There's this big hesitation when people aren't going to stay somewhere. They're like, well, I'm not going to spend $5,000 on a sauna, even though I know it's going to help me. And then next year, I'm going to buy a house and I don't even know. I'm not sure if it's going to fit. I don't know if we can wire it up. I don't know if there's going to be like electrician costs and all this stuff. And then how do we transport it? How do we take it together and blah, blah, blah. So there's all these little predicaments where the DIY sauna is a great temporary fit, right, for a lot of different folks. And that's what I want to focus on. I think I've said it over and over, but I want to make this really clear. I want to go through the sections, and then I want you guys to kind of give me feedback in the comments. Tell me what's missing. Tell me if this is too much story. Should this stuff be taken out? What do you want? What do you need? Because I don't care about making money with this. I don't care about charging a ton of stuff. This is not going to be like some $100 course on how to build a $200 sauna. It's just not. It's going to be like $5 or $10. I'm going to give it to the loyal subscribers anyway because I want you guys to beta test it. So it's not like there's no like money grab here. There's no bait and switch. It's not like I'm holding anything, hostage. I'm going to show you everything. I'm not going to go to China and get somebody to build a kit like this that we can sell for $500, even though for a certain group of you guys, I think that would be really, really useful because you don't want to fool around with ordering a bunch of parts on Amazon and following some guide and da-da-da. You want to open a box, pop the thing open and just have it work. But really, what am I doing if we do that? I'm adding a couple $100 in net profit for a business that I own and control, which is driving your costs up for the same exact product. And the only thing that I'm charging for is the convenience. So for this particular thing, I just don't think that's a good fit. I don't think it's a win-win. And I want to focus on bringing this to market for people who truly can't afford, a different, a better, or whatever sauna. So this is getting deep really quick. We're not even focused on the nuts and the bolts. But I just kind of touched on the next section. So not everything is about money and selling you shit. Near infrared does not make you sweat. I've got a whole series of videos. A lot of people have wanted to see this. They're like, hey, can you show us the difference between a full body near infrared panel and the DIY sauna or a heat lamp sauna or Dr. Wilson diamond shape pattern design? And I know I'm throwing a lot of information at you. I have been working on this nonstop for a while, so it's like super fresh. It's all right here. Everything's in the room. This is raw, unfiltered, and I just want to do the best possible job that we can. bringing this to market. So I talk extensively about how isolated near infrared doesn't make you sweat. I go over all the different stuff about the bulbs and how these bulbs heat you up, even though there's some near infrared output, yet a full body panel like so gives you more near infrared, but it won't give you an actual sauna session, right? And so that's like the whole disdain for a near infrared sauna, is because it causes all this confusion, but I don't really have any choice. If I start calling this DIY sauna not like a heat lamp sauna or not a near infrared sauna, no one will know what the hell it is. No one will know what I'm talking about. So the industry has kind of already been butchered, and I just go along with it. We call it a DIY near infrared heat lamp sauna, so people know that you're talking about, oh, it's one of those bulbs, it's one of those bulb sauna deals. And then everyone knows me for hating on those things. So it's like there's this huge discrepancy. I also have sections here who this is not for. I specifically tell you who this is not for. This is not a replacement for a stand-up wooden far infrared sauna that is $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. Those are two different camps, right? If you think this is a replacement for that, this is not for you. Period. And I'm very upfront about that. I don't want anyone to have the wool pulled over their eyes. I don't want to lead anybody down some rabbit hole where they think, because I've had some questions and comments like that on YouTube videos. One of them I actually deleted because the person had such the wrong idea. They were like, oh my God, you're going to make something better and it's cheap. And then, these wooden saunas are kind of obsolete. No. Don't mislead people like that. That's not the case at all. And I think the majority of you guys get that, right? And I go specifically into, it's not a replacement for a low EMF, low VOC sauna. The EMF in this sauna is not perfect. I have very specific sections on that. There's testing sections in here. I show you what the measurements are. You're fully aware of everything. But I also show you that it's within reason of any other portable sauna, whether it's heat lamp, far infrared, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's within the same range, except it's about $800 less, which is great for most people. I go into who this is perfect for. I put some disclaimers in there, like obviously, if you're building this, you have to spend a little bit of money to buy the parts. There's an exact dollar figure, so there's no surprises. Blah blah blah. Basically, if you value your time, this is right for you. And then we go right into selecting the right parts for your DIY sauna build. So there's a master parts list. I go into why you need metal tent frames, not PVC, especially if you want to hang lights from the ceiling. I think that one's not really from the ceiling, but there's a sliding bar in the middle, so if you want to have overhead heat, you can. It's kind of a good application for spot treatment. Some people want to do spot treatment on the scalp, which is kind of cool. Don't waste time on the fixtures. I spent all this time. We tried to source fancy stuff, blah, blah, blah. Wasn't worth it, so I would put a specific section in there, because some people have like better ideas and they ask questions and all this. I want to make sure you guys know what was a waste of time and what wasn't. I go over exactly which lights to get, the best bulbs. People want to know like the difference in the brands. Some are $25 and some are like $8.99. There is a little bit of a difference between the two, but overall performance is pretty good no matter which ones you get. Still, people are like, just tell us what's worth the money and what's not. We go through extension cords. We also go through wattage and amperage, because this is a flexible system. So you can either add or take away lights. Obviously, if you're pushing the limits on a 10 or 15 amp circuit, you want to make sure that all of your electrical is either rated for that power requirement that you're going to be putting on the system, or basically like the draw. And I go through a couple of things about the chairs, the tent sizes. Everyone was like, does it have to be this big? Does it have to be this small? So for some people, this is huge. For other people, this is tiny. So for the people that want to do yoga in one of these things, it's small. For the people who want to put this in the corner of their bedroom, this size behind me is big. So we talked about the adaptability, how to pick the sizing, because it does change where you place the lights. And if you change how you place the lights, you might need a different extension cord and blah, blah, blah. So the parts list is different. I go through that. We talk about getting the lights on a remote control a lot so that you can control the heat. And I think that is a really good idea for everyone. It's worth the extra $30 or $24, to get one of these kits. Talk to you about that. And then if you do that, kind of like this seems stupid, right? Like it's not a big deal. Oh, wow, we buy some clickers and we put a remote in this thing. But then the former parts list becomes null and void, because those aren't The other extension cords that are cheaper that we were using the first time, it's not a grounded system. So then you can't plug and play everything. You got to order this. So I don't want people to have all this stuff come to their house and they go to put it together and they're like, oh, I want this option and this option, but then all that other stuff that we save money on doesn't work. So it would have been worth the extra $2 to order this part number, right? So it's just picking out all these little intricacies and going over them so that it just save you time. I'm making it super complicated, like explaining it in this video. But if you just went through boom, 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 really, these are like 1 to 3 minute clips. This is not a long thing. This overview video is probably more in depth explaining it to kind of create a 30,000 foot overview so that if you have questions now, while all this stuff is set up, there's camera equipment in here, I have help. We can go through it right now and add whatever is missing or take away redundant stuff. Like I think a lot of this stuff is going to get slimmed down. People have questions about building the sauna, where to place it. Can it touch the wall? Is it going to create a lot of heat in the room? What about this? What about that? Is it going to burn anything? Yada, yada, yada. So there's little intricacies for that. Unboxing the parts and actually laying out the tent frame, putting it together. My cousin is filming and I basically put together every single piece on film. It's really long, so we've sped it up tremendously because it probably takes, I don't know, a half an hour to 45 minutes to put this together. From a lot of that 5 or 10 minutes of that is unpackaging the boxes and stuff because they come in, they're all taped up, and you've got a tall tent frame like this, and it's a pretty big box. Everything is wrapped in plastic. There's styrofoam and all this, nonsense. It's kind of harder to unpackage some of the things than it is to actually put it together. So we sped up a lot of that stuff without leaving the details out so that I think that will be easy for you. The instructions on some of these parts and products aren't really intended for this, so they're not very helpful. We talk about adding stuff to the enclosure, doing support bars, optimal heat lamp layout, and in my opinion, it differs from the Dr. Wilson diamond design. The whole thing is to get away from that, spread the heat out, make it more effective, and also make you more comfortable. You no longer have to rotate around on a little rotisserie like you used to. Tricks to mounting the lights securely. We've done so many things. You can use zip ties, you can use removable ties, you can do all kinds of stuff. We go through that. Routing extension cords, the drip pan, all these little things. Now, I think this, other than unless you're someone who's not handy, putting this thing together, it's great to have it step by step because you can just run through and do it. But I think the other benefit to this, probably even more important, because a lot of people can figure this out on their own. They don't necessarily need me. It just makes it quicker and faster, and they don't have to do a few hours of research and figure out which parts work together. But using the sauna for the first time, all these little questions like what to expect, am I doing it right? Is this how it's supposed to feel? Am I sweating enough? I'm not sweating fast enough. How do I change this? Should there be more heat? Should I use 150 watt bulbs or 250 watt bulbs? All these little things. I think that is a huge benefit and will address a lot of questions that I think get left out, even from the companies that sell these products. They don't have information like that. It might come with an instruction manual on how to turn it on and how to use it, but that's not really in depth. So I go through here, and again, please, I want you to be brutally honest here. If this is too much, if it's too much detail, if there's too much story, if there's something missing, I want you guys to tell me exactly what you think. For you. Don't worry about what anyone else thinks. Don't worry about what I think. I just want you to say, hey, Matt, this looks great, but I wish you would have done this. Or, hey, Matt, I don't really like this. It feels a little overwhelming. Can you sum it down or just do one little Cliff Notes section or a summary for those of us who want this, this, and this? And then tell me what that is. Tell me what you need. Sorry, I have to stretch. Been in this chair filming for too long. And tell me exactly what you need, and I will put that together. I will make this resource exactly how you want it. So we go through towel recommendations because you can avoid cleaning most of the sauna if you use your towels correctly. And it's super simple. You just sit on a towel, you put something under your feet, you'll have something clean to wipe your face so that you're not mixing a body sweat and then taking that and shoving it into your eyes and things like that. Most of this stuff is common sense, yet I still get emails and questions and everything else about people using these. And people will even ask, what kind of towels do you recommend? The type of towels really aren't that important. I just recommend separating your bath towels from your sauna towels. And when you do those when you do that laundry, you kind of want to do them separately because sometimes the sauna towels can be permanently stained, they can smell or whatever. It's not that they're not reusable. You just don't want to mix that in with your clothes or with bedding or with other stuff. In my opinion, I'm kind of picky though. I like my stuff clean. But there's a lot of little intricate, things here. cleaning the sauna, which there's nothing to that, but I think people have a fear that there is. Like, they don't know that there's nothing to it. You just wipe, So I don't know how much. I don't know how much. This is really useful, because to me it's kind of common sense. So on one hand, I'm hesitant to do certain stuff. Like, there's other things that I thought about. My cousin here helping me film also makes a difference, because he asks questions and he's not familiar with the stuff. So some of these things come from that, which I think is really great, because I wouldn't have thought of them. It's just the things that I do every day. Like, I don't think about telling you guys how I set up the sauna before I use it, because I do it all the time. It's just like second nature. Little things too, like mixing up electrolytes beforehand, taking a mason jar in instead of a plastic thing, where to actually put the water so it stays away from the infrared and it lasts longer so it doesn't get hot. Like this, I don't think anyone really wants to know that. And so I don't know if that is a blessing for you guys to not have to listen to that, or if it's a detriment. Getting in for the first time, what to expect. I think that's probably most requested. I think people really find comfort in seeing someone on camera getting into something that they're going to make, so that they know in their own house they did it right. This is how it's supposed to feel. This is how many minutes, approximately, because everyone's different, that it should take, for me to start sweating. Did I build it exactly like Matt did? Is this, is my experience that I'm having, because I don't have anything to gauge it off of, is it similar to Matt's, and how Matt says it would compare to the other saunas that are in that same room with that thing? Because I'm never going to have those, so I just want to make sure, like before I even get started. I think that's incredibly beneficial for people. That's probably the best or the most positive feedback that I've gotten out of this whole thing so far. Maybe even more so than actually how to build this. Because like I said, it seems like most people can figure this out on their own. How long until you should be sweating? What to do if you don't sweat, right? There's some helpful tips in there. Rotating or changing the heat intensity, using the remotes, aiming the bulbs, correct venting for your sauna size, how long to stay in for sauna session, when to take breaks. And some people say, well, isn't this kind of, the same across the board no matter what sauna you use? Yes, it is, and no, it isn't. It really depends on which one it is. To me, this is generic info that really doesn't need to be there. Yet this could also be someone's first time using one of these type saunas, so they have no idea. So we're trying to cover all the bases for every type of person that may be in there. And that's why I just realized as I'm going through this, it's already 20 minutes in. This is kind of long. It's too in depth. It's commonplace, information for me that I think maybe should be removed. But maybe the answer is for you guys to give feedback and say, hey, I want a summary section that has this, 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 and this in it. And then if I want to go deeper into all these other crazy things that you put together, because there's like 30 some videos in here total, and that's been refined. I mean, we're talking like a ton of clips. So hydration recommendations, protecting your eyes from the near infrared bulbs, warnings and facts. We cover the EMF. A lot of people want to know exactly what this is. I show it to you. We take all the meters in there, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to bore you with that here. What about VOCs and off-gassing? Because the tents, the grow tents, they're not perfect. The near-infrared heat lamp bulbs will burn you, so we talk about the heat and how to avoid that. We talk about breaking the bulbs. There are some mounts that can break the neck of the bulb. I talk about that. I talk about specifically, a lot of people have questions like, how does this compare to like a Therasage or a Synergy or a Durham from Amazon or a Sauna Space or a Serene Life, something cheap from Amazon, like $200. And so I talk specifically about that. I think people will find value in that. Will near-infrared detoxify you like far-infrared? Everyone is concerned about this. Do I have the right type of sauna for the maximum health benefit? If I don't, how much, do I get 80% of the benefits, or what's the difference? And so I go into a few clips on that. I go into advanced modifications. If you want to add a real fixture mount to this, I show you how. That's a little bit too much for some people. I go into adding remote controls. There's actually some other things that aren't on this curriculum yet. We've got a couple tricks for adding VOC sponges. So if you are worried about the VOCs from the tent, we just put a VOC sponge in there and you're good to go. You don't really have to be concerned with it. Adding additional lamps for people that want to get really, really crazy with the heat. So yeah, this is pretty much all of the sections that I have today. Just give me your feedback. Tell me what you think. What's missing? What's overkill? And as a whole, do you think this is a good fit? And if not, help me help you. So this video is getting kind of long. I hope you guys are doing great. I will see you in the next clip, which is being uploaded now.